In which movie did the villain actually have a point? Wizard of Oz. Yeah, she was a witch, but come on. They were her dead sister's shoes. She should have them. Not some stranger who just showed up and wants them. Oh, by the way, this stranger that just showed up was the one that killed her sister. Sad, really. I mean, if some random bitch showed up, killed my sister, stole her Louboutins, and tried some shit? Yeah, I'd go after her ass, too. Glenda is the real villain of the story. She magics the shoes onto Dorothy, then tells her the only way she can get home is to see the wizard when she knew he was a fraud. The journey to the Emerald City is crazy dangerous, potentially lethal. What Glenda really wanted was for Dorothy to do her dirty work for her and finish off the wicked witches. Then when she kills the witch, Glenda pops up and tells her that she could have gone home at any time. And no one gives her shit for lying her ass off in order to manipulate Dorothy to kill while putting her life in danger. I would have smacked that shit-eating grin off her face if it were me. I would love to read more of you laying out movie plots. Greater than. And no one gives her shit for lying her ass off in order to manipulate Dorothy to kill while putting her life in danger. I would have smacked that shit-eating grin off her face if it were me. Thank you. This is the second compliment I've received this year, the other was yesterday. That one was from a Redditor as well. For a man, 2 compliments by mid-July is pretty damn good. If I get like 3 to 4 more, I'll break my annual record. See, the thing about compliments is they have to be free of outside influence. As much as I appreciate the kind words, the fact that I mentioned my compliment number for the year means that, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to count this toward the total. And when you view it from his point of view, he survived the Holocaust. He saw what people are willing to do when they hate and fear a group enough. And then in Do FP he was right. Can you blame him? I hate the X-Men movies cause they butchered the timeline. But I love how Magneto was handled. I like him better when he's written as not cartoonishly evil, but more of the Malcolm X to Charles's MLK. They both want what's best for their people, but they have very different and often conflicting ideas about what that is and how to achieve it. I thought the movies were perfect. Hess not evil like a cartoon but more like a politician. He has complete conviction in his beliefs, which means he is biased enough to interpret everything as validation, and he is willing to sacrifice everything for those beliefs, but his personal sacrifice is always what comes last. Honestly, when I watched the Bee movie as a kid, I thought it was about the bee and the woman become friends, but her husband was cruel to animals, why she broke up with him, and then they saved the bees as friends. It wasn't until recently when I realized they were meant to be in a relationship, and I find it really creepy. I feel like I've seen the movie sorta recently and I think this is all just a rhetoricism that gets repeated until people just started to accept it as fact. I don't think they explicitly had a relationship in the movie. They hung out and talked and were supportive of each other, but I didn't catch anything overtly romantic. I think most people on Reddit are so starved of intimacy that they can't differentiate between any kind of intimate relationships, platonic or romantic. Platonic, not plutonic. Spell check isn't just a crutch for me. It's become a wheelchair. Bad spelling is how I roll. That would be a rational thing to think, except you're talking about the Bee movie, so something rational couldn't possibly be the case. Give the scene where the guy comes home to the bee having dinner with his wife another watch. That scene is a lot of things. Or the dream sequence where the bee and the woman are dating and she hops into a Cessna and makes a big heart in skywriting. Bee movie is so perfectly strange and awful, trying to understand it from clips is futile as trying to perceive the infinite. You cannot see the forest for the trees, and each tree is dumber and more maddening than the last. You have to sit down and watch the whole film, which is only an hour and a half but easily feels like 3 or more, to really get a handle on what the fuck it is. That's exactly what happened to me. For real though, the comment I replied to is wrong. Patrick Warburton getting cucked by a bee is definitely a thing, it's one of the major plot threads. Yeah. Friends don't go on a picnic date with a bottle of wine, I think it's labeled as cider in the scene, they've gotta keep it PG, where the girl wears a dress like that and they fly off on a plane. Lol. Don't know what kind of female friends you guys have, but I don't do that with mine, smiley face. And I have a GF, so I'm not starved for attention like the other guy alleges. Lol. Never seen the movie. But from the clip and general kids movie experience, my guess is they were trying to work in hidden adult humor into a kid movie setting and totally fucked up the balance, resulting in this. Sweeney Todd. Okay, no excuse to go murder half of London. But when your chief enemy is a corrupt judge and the corrupt law enforcer who abets him in his career of rape and cruelty, violence does seem a semi-reasonable response. The thing is though, Syndrome only plans on sharing his technology after he's too old to be a hero anymore. He explicitly states this. He really doesn't care about equality between normal people and supers. While he's still young, he wants to be the only super to reap all the glory, and only once he's too old to continue then he'll share his tech. Evelyn from the second movie had a couple good points that were never addressed. People did trust what they saw on television too much. People did put too much faith in supers. The world didn't need crime fighters in spandex. In fact, they were a major liability even when properly regulated. Syndrome was a very good villain. He took facts and sound ideas, and twisted them to serve his purpose. That, and there were several good themes, pretending to be someone, or something, you're not does more harm than good. The best of intentions and the smallest mistakes can have major consequences down the line. I guess that's why I like the first movie more. Here's how I think villains break down. A mediocre villain is just a dick. Think Don John from Much Ado About Nothing. He has a neat little monologue where he explains he's just a damn troll and likes fucking with these folks. A good villain thinks he's right, but he's mostly off base. Syndrome is a perfect example. A great villain though? They are right. The end solution they propose would actually, very likely, make the world/universe/timeline better. The only thing that makes them a villain is the price their solution requires is too high for us to morally pay. There's not many of those kinds of villains. I think this is why the MCU's Thanos is so compelling. In an Infinity War, he's almost filmed as the protagonist. It's his story, not the Avengers. I couldn't believe how, after his explanation to Gamora in the throne room, I was having trouble coming up with a valid argument that stood up to his reasoning right off the bat. It all came down to the price isn't worth paying. In the face of someone like Thanos, that argument seems flimsy. I also think that, serious MCU spoilers for Loki, He Who Remains, or Kang, fell into the same category at the end of the show. I understand why Sylvie didn't listen to him, but he was controlling the timeline to protect them all from the Conqueror and other warlike variants of himself. Loki sees it now, though. We're gonna see a lot more of him, obviously, and I think we're going to see just how important it was that He Who Remains, remained. Infinity War is my favorite MCU fic and I think it is because of Thanos. Like wow, the guy totally lived up to the hype. I love cinema wins and he said what you said here, that Thanos is the protagonist of Infinity War. It was his story and he was the one who won. Infinity War had a lot going for it between the action and humor and other characters, but Thanos really brought it to that next level. He had this desperation and gravitas to them that was just so compelling. All his lines are so memorable, hats off to Josh Brolin for bringing his A game and then some. It's just a really great movie and there was never any chance for Endgame to top it ho. It came close though, but more so because of the heroes. I should re-watch Infinity War to hear his argument again, but from what I remember it boiled down to overpopulation bad. Even Earl, I don't find it very compelling, when you consider that we do produce enough food to feed almost everyone on the planet, and the struggle is in the logistics. With enough investment in solar energy we can easily power the planet too. And we know higher birth rates are linked to poverty, while developed and developing countries see a steady decline in birth rate and even in population. There are 1,000 solutions to the overpopulation problem that are better than just killing everyone. Thanos just decided building infrastructure was too hard. Yeah, these days the right answer is take to social media and leak it to the press, but the result is the same even if you don't take over a defunct prison and take 100 hostages. They still kill you for fighting corruption. Oh hell yeah. He just wanted acknowledgement for his men's sacrifice from the government that betrayed them, and financial security for their families. He even breaks down later in the movie by admitting that he was never willing to launch the rockets into the civilian population of San Francisco, saying they called our bluff, but his psycho-hired mercenaries insist on going forward. He is a good man. I don't know if you can really call him the villain, but Andrew in Chronicle was right in a twisted way. Nobody helps him, everyone does whatever they want with no consideration for how it affects everyone else simply because they can. Suddenly when he finds himself with the power to take what he wants and do what he wants, he does just that. The scene where his dad is yelling at him and winds up to hit him and Andrew still doesn't expect him to hit him. It is one of those small moments that really impressed me with the realism of it all. It's got such powerful moments in it and I love this movie so much. Or the scene where he attacks those bullies. He clearly has no idea what he's doing. He's terrified despite all his power. He's a skinny pale boy in a fireman's uniform trying to stand up for himself, but it all feels so impotent. Except, by some strange twist of fate, he recently got the power to actually fight back.